Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I have an author interview with Michael Michel. And today is a special day because it is the release date for The Price of Power, which is your debut book, which, congratulations, that's just phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Appreciate it.
s- yeah. Did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce your book, and also, if you are interested in learning more, everyone who's watching, check the links in the description below to follow Michael and learn more about his book. But let's get going with an intro.
All right. Hello, everybody. So honored to be here. Like many of you, I've been writing for a very long time. Um, and it's really quite unreal to finally have one of my books be published, 10 years after I got serious. And even more unreal that I'm doing it myself. Never thought I'd go that path, but here we are. And so thank you for taking the time to check this out. Um, I'm thrilled to be here. Uh, you wanted a book intro as well, right?
Yeah, just
Taylor?
tell us a little bit
Okay.
about your book and what people might expect.
Okay. I'm going to totally cop out here.
Oh,
Never been
for
able
sure.
to answer this question. So I'm going to actually let the reviews speak for themselves. And I'm going to read off of one of the reviews who I thought, dang, they did a good job of encapsulating that. So this
Nice.
one is from Booktonia. The Price of Power is a multi POV, epic character focused grimdark fantasy, following four central perspectives. Barrowdane, the disgraced mad prince who is thought by all to be dead. A Showa, an orphan princess with enormous shoes to fill. A grandmother with unique abilities, tasked with a mission that is bound to be the death of her own grandson. And Thethos, a pig farmer who has suffered a lifetime of abuse from his father with nothing left to lose. And you could say he also has kind of a death wish. So I'll add on top of that that this is, even though a lot of reviewers say it's grimdark, if there was a spectrum of grimdark, I would put it on the lower end for sure.
Mm.
I think there's something that anybody can get out of this book, whether they like Brandon Sanderson or George R. R. Martin. I think that's the fact that his character focus could appeal to just about anybody. Also, the magic system is very spiritual. My background is in counseling, and I'm a professional coach. And so that was a huge focus for me. It's like the magic system has to be psychologically tight. So there you have it. It's like Game of Thrones mixed with X-Men. There.
Yeah, that actually is a very good mix there. It's a good
I should have
explanation.
just said that alone. Okay.
Hey,
What am I doing?
sale pitch. There you go.
There we go. Nailed it.
Yeah, so I recently finished reading this as well and can attest that it is, if you enjoyed Joe Abercrombie, I'd say it's along similar lines of Grimdark. Um, and yeah, it was a slow burn, a satisfying slow burn with a whirlwind of an ending. That's how I'll put that.
Yeah.
So we've got a few people here. We've got Roger. Hello, Derek
Roger.
and Anita. Lovely to have you all.
Hello, everybody.
So let's kick this off with when did you first discover fantasy and which books have stuck with you over the years?
Hmm.
Or even recently, if
I
this just
mean,
stuck with you?
I'm going to go deep here and say life itself is somewhat of a fantasy.
Oh,
And so I feel like I have an innate curiosity, and I
okay.
always have. I ask questions for my day job. And I would say that asking great questions leads to creating great novels, if I could even
Mm.
classify mine as great, which I will. So
You have that
I
right.
think that's, yeah, I think the curiosity there is at the heart of any good narrative. Um,
Mm.
to answer your question more like you probably were hoping for,
No,
uh,
by all means.
it was always a part of my childhood. I have two older brothers, and so as the youngest of three boys, it'd be like, "What's my brother doing?" And like just wanting to see what are they reading. I'm like, "Oh, there's a picture on the front of this book with a guy and there's skeletons crawling up a rock after them. What is that?" Um, of course, we played with toys and watched cartoons. So people with powers and mutant Ninja Turtles and all that stuff is uh, inherently intriguing to
Mm.
a lot of people, and I was no different. So, um, specifically fantasy books, I honestly, you know what it was? When I was in fourth grade, I read,
Mm.
there's a reading competition, and I picked a huge book. It was the only time, it was like every quarter you could win. Like if you got enough reading points, you would get some parties with like a few elite kids. And I only got it one time, and it was because I devoured the book Hercules. Amazing,
Oh,
amazing book. Such a cool cover too. It's like a guy on, Hercules on the front with like a bow. He's wearing like the Nemean lion as a pelt, which is like
yeah.
impenetrable. Oh, it's so cool. But I would say that's probably where my interest in fantasy books specifically started.
That's awesome. So not only was it a bit of fantasy, but you had some mythology in there as well with that book.
Yes, and I wouldn't say what I've written thus far has any kind of like the Greek mythos of any
Mm.
kind. But I will say one of my favorite TV shows is Blood of Zeus because the drama, the intricate drama that they weave together in that show, the storytelling is like the twists and turns are, oh, chef's kiss. They're so good.
That's
Yeah,
good.
the
Which
drama.
show was that?
Blood of Zeus. It's a
Blood
cartoon.
of Zeus.
Much like my book, the first episode is a little bit of a slow burn, but it takes off pretty quick after the first episode or two. So, anyways,
Nice.
I like that.
I always appreciate a good book that will put the characters through the ringer and show the actual experience of the trauma or the growth or whatever comes from it.
Hmm.
So, with this all starting quite young for you, at what point did you say, I want to write? I want to write my own story or stories if there's more?
Actually, I know you read the acknowledgments, and
Hmm.
you probably read the part that said, "Thank you to the lawnmower." Um,
Yes, I did.
so I was in seventh grade, and I was making that money, hustling, mowing lawns. I was mowing my mom's friend's lawn, and it's a terrible lawn with a push mower. It wasn't
Oh.
fun, but I had this thought as I was pushing. I even remember exactly where I was. I remember what I was looking at. It was like a dreary Oregon day, and I thought I was just thinking about things because you didn't have podcasts and all this other crud that we stick in our ears now. And I thought catastrophe nights, which is funny because the word is catastrophe. And I just thought that's cool. And I imagine these like big knights, they kind of look like Warhammer Chaos Warriors, if you're familiar with Warhammer Fantasy. And anyways, I just kind of expanded from there and was like, I'm going to write a book about this and just started putting other pieces together. And catastrophe nights became rake nights. For anyone who's read the book knows what those are. They're
Mm.
scary knights that ride giant snakes with horns and antlers on them. But yeah, that's when I started, and I started drawing maps and all kinds of like just lists and lists and lists and developing it over the years. And then about 6 years ago, I actually started to write. There was something missing, and
Mm.
it was so I started when I became a coach. It really opened my eyes to um, more spirituality.
Mm.
And I've realized that a lot of great books have, like Dune, for instance, has
Yeah.
undercurrents of spirituality in them, or Lord of the Rings has a lot of spirituality. I was raised religious. I'm not currently a spiritual person, but it kind of clicked some things into place for me. And that's when I developed Enturus and
Mm.
the idea of facing your greatest fears and pulling from it as a place of power. Um, and so that was kind of the hinge piece. Harry Potter's has Hogwarts. Game of Thrones has the Iron Throne. My
Mm.
hinge piece was in Turris, and I didn't get it until I went through coaching myself.
Right. So you hit the right point in your life to start developing it more fully.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. It was a timing thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's awesome. And so with all of that, because I want to go into how long you spent writing this. You spent 23 years writing this book overall. That's right?
It's like
Thereabouts?
it's a 23-year. I call it a 23-year journey because
Mm.
I've written chapters here and there. I made the notes. I had one of those like file cabinets full of like
Yes.
notes and stuff. Um, I would say 6 years ago, between 6 years ago and 2 years ago, I had probably I had more notes than writing, honestly. Just tons
Mm.
of notes about things, but I probably only had 50 to 70,000 words written.
Okay.
And then in the last two, I wrote 200. The book was originally 272,000 words. So it was
Okay.
almost 1,400 pages.
You
Um,
wow, that got trimmed a lot
yes, well,
because
I took
you're around
2.
700.
Yeah, yeah. I would say okay, so maybe not 14, maybe I had it as 1,100 pages.
Okay.
I just do words. 270,000 words trimmed down to 197,000. So I
Okay.
took about, I don't know, 73,000 words and put them in book 2
Mm.
and then trimmed another. Well, I took it. Sorry, this is so like little details here, but
No, it's
I
good.
took 2 characters out of book 1 and put them
Okay.
in book 2 because it was too big. I was like, nobody's ever gonna get through this. It's too big. It's even kind
Right.
of too big for some people now. And then I trimmed it. I went through and I trimmed 10,000 words by trying to cut 10 to 20 words per page. It was just like, how can I cut and tighten? And that was the hardest cut. I did not want to do that. Did not want to do that
Do
at
you
all.
are you happy with that now that it's out in the world, or were you
Oh,
glad you went with that?
oh, absolutely. I even
Mm.
cut it down a little more since I sent you the art copy, actually.
Oh, really?
Right before the final version went up, I cut the prologue and just little chunks of like 100 words in the first like 4 chapters, just to speed up that first bit, you know,
Right.
because
Yeah.
there's some bigger chapters in the beginning.
There are. Yeah, it's, for myself, though, I find I enjoy slow burns so long as the payoff is there, right? Even when it's the first book in a series, I need some kind of payoff to go with that slow burn.
Yeah.
But I savor those slow burns because that's where you're building, that's where you're getting all the little hints and everything like that. And you did that really well, even in the copy that I received before you trimmed out all the extra stuff there. Um, but it sounds like you had a very methodical process to this. As you were going through, you were learning and applying, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Um, yeah, go for it.
what's- I didn't cut the prologue. I cut it down.
Cut
I
it
just saw
down.
a little question.
Yeah, no, that's
Roger asked a question.
yeah, no,
Uh,
that's good.
I cut it down by probably 200 words or so. And there
Okay.
was one line in particular that I was like, "Oh lordy, I got to cut that line." I thought it was a great line, and then I thought about it, and I was like, "Eesh, cringy." So I got that out of there. Too early
Now
for a cringer. Um,
I'm curious now.
it was her knees went weak in the magnitude of his presence.
Oh, yeah, I
About
remember that
Janet,
line.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
it's a memorable line, but not in the right way. um, yeah. Oh, I forgot what we were talking about, but that's all right. We'll
That's
just keep
okay.
on rolling.
Um, so like we talked about, this is it's an impressive story for a debut. It's, just over 700 pages. You spent a lot of time working on it. It's got that slow burn, whirlwind ending. You also managed to balance the world building, the storytelling, and the characters in a captivating way, which kept me as a reader engaged. Now, I imagine I'm not the only reader who will experience that. I'd love to know what the inspirations were or the resources were that helped you to create all of this and to make that so balanced.
Well, okay. I remember what I was going to say. So
Yep, go for it.
one of my hopes is that when I watch a show or read a book or reread a book, the assumption is that if people really love it, they're going to reread it,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
Most of the time, we reread the things we love. Therefore, you want to make the reread enjoyable. And the things that I've seen, TV shows or books that I've read, I love the ones where you go back and everything is clicked into place. Knowing the end, you then see the beginning and you go, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice this before. Oh my gosh, I didn't even
Mm.
notice this before. So there's hopefully people notice lots of little, just really subtle things that makes the second read more enjoyable. Um, as far as you said, inspirations and resources.
Yeah, just anything that, helped you to build this, and bring it to life.
Okay. Well, for all those people out there who are authors themselves, I highly recommend being a part of an established, if possible, an established writing group that's oriented toward professional publication. I did
Mm.
that for 3 years solid, didn't miss a Tuesday for 3 years from the age of 27 to about 30 or 31, somewhere in there. Some half years in there. And I, my writing group is incredible. World Fantasy Award winners, Nebula Award winners. I think we've had over a dozen Writers of the Future winners. Um, I myself was a 4-time honorable mention in Writers of the Future. That was 10 years ago. So doing that isn't that's an irreplaceable resource. Now I haven't gone in like 7 years, um, but the the thing that kind of brought it all together was just continuing to explore and discover who I am as a person. I think it's really difficult to write the book that's like your deepest desire to write without knowing who you are truly. Because once you know who you are, you're able to. What I was able to do was really accept, and when you can just accept and trust yourself, you write better. There's not this voice saying,
Mm.
"Don't write that yet." You gotta. Like I had to get that first draft
Mm.
completely done, and it involved trust. It just required. I was like, speed. Let the story just go. You know, and it's tough because in the back of your mind, you're going, "I'm gonna have to rewrite this thing, not just one more time, but I'm probably gonna have to edit and rewrite it 2 to 4 to 6 more times." So every time you go, "Oh, it's done," but it's not. And so there's this need to have acceptance of yourself, trust that you're not just wasting a major part of your life. I mean, 2 years is a big chunk of life, right?
Yeah,
Not to mention all
absolutely.
the years prior. Um, so it seems indirect, but doing any kind of self growth work that you can um, and is crucial. I think that's one of
Mm.
those. So I guess if I had to say, it's like resources, self growth seminars, getting counseling, getting coaching. Those are huge. Um, inspiration wise, X-Men and Game of Thrones are huge inspirations. I kind of made a list. I was like, what are all my favorite things? Cannibals, sweet. Threw a little bit of cannibalism in there, right? Uh,
Mm.
vampires are cool. Can't find a way to get it in there, but maybe someday. Kind of maybe do some different books with vampires. Game of Thrones. I love the political intrigue. That's cool. Let's have that. Uh, I don't like when a magic system only has the one thing. So I have two magic systems. There's kind of the more X-Men superpowers, which is on the lower level of the magic system. And then there's the things that Darkhorn is doing, which is on a higher level. And that's its own magic system, which is yet to be fully revealed. But it will be
Mhm.
in time. Um, so those were probably my two biggest inspirations in writing the book, and then also being the writer of the book. The resources required are developing who you
Mm.
are as a person.
So did you, I'm curious now because you had all this self-talk in the back of your head, like, "Oh, I'm gonna pay for this later." You had to work past all of that. On a similar level, did you, encounter imposter syndrome when you were going through this process, when you were in your publishing stage? Have you hit that, and how did you handle it?
Oh, anytime you see a review that's not quite a 5 star, you kind of go, oh, that's not that good, like that absolutely arises. But, with time, it becomes less. And the positive
Mm.
reviews, focusing on those, and they outweigh the ones that are less than stellar, even though I really haven't had that bad of ones. But, it's you just commit. You don't really give. There's a great quote in a book that I found very amazing called The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. It's actually won the Pulitzer Prize. Not many people have heard of it somehow, but the people who
Hmm.
have agree it's pretty amazing. Um, in order to know yourself, you have to limit yourself. And one of those limits is having that, like, this is happening no matter what, right? So you
Right.
can either think about imposter syndrome is just going to be a waste of energy for what you're doing,
Mm.
or you can write 2 drafts and call it good and not do that, third, fourth draft, or that tight cut fifth draft, right?
Mm.
But you're going to keep going, so you might as well do it right, because there's no more options. This is the only path. And so when I could really commit to that limitation, that this was occurring, um, it allowed me to bring my full self to bear as I did it.
Mm.
Is this like the weirdest answers? Are these weird answers?
No,
These are
no,
weird answers.
Roger's enjoying it. He says you have
All
taken to
right.
full on life coach mode, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Well, at least someone likes it.
Well, and every author's experience is different, right? I've chatted with authors who have, they just said I wanted to write a story, and they hunkered down, and that was all they did. They just dived right into writing. Others who studied the craft for quite a while before getting in and writing their own story. Hearing everyone's experience is always interesting because down the line, when other people are watching this later on, they might click with something you're saying versus a different author,
Yeah.
right? Something might help them, or if it's just like a little idea in the back of their brain, it might help them down the line as well. So everyone's experience is completely different, and it's fascinating to hear how yours has gone through that different perspective.
You know what I think it is?
Yeah.
I think I've done so many, I've done multiple life coaching podcasts, and I do, like, presentations for these, I'll do this one corporate event every year with like 500 people
Oh
on
wow.
on Zoom. And I think I'm like blending the strengths. Like, I'm like, let's lean into this strength where you're comfortable, Michael. And it's like trying to get through with that. um, Maybe that's happening. I don't know.
Hey, it's whatever works for you, and you got to pull your strengths, right?
Absolutely.
So we do have a question from Roger. Are you one of the authors who almost hears their characters and your characters tell you the story, or did you do outlining and whatnot?
I'm like, do I? My first response is, do I hear voices?
That's another
Don't
word.
gaslight me, Roger.
That's another way to phrase that.
Yeah. Um, I want to say yes. I'm trying to think of moments where I, like, oh, I absolutely hear my characters' voices. I tend to see it. What's funny is people say, like, oh, if you want to write books, you got to read books. I actually don't really agree with that. I'm
Hmm.
sure it helps. I would say if you want to write books, you should practice writing books. But also, I watch television and film, and I read books too, obviously, all the time, and short stories, and all that stuff. But I also think there's just so much to be learned from TV and film in
Hmm.
terms of, like, framing scenes. So I've done like a little bit of acting before as well,
Oh,
and
interesting.
um, how things are framed. Like, I when I write a story, I think of it in terms of shots, right? And
Hmm.
I think of it in terms of, these are my actors and I'm directing them. And so I'll think, like, no, they need to sound a little more
Hmm.
like that. So I am actually hearing their voices. They're
Right.
not, I wouldn't say they're telling me what to do. I will kind of hear their voices, see it play out. And if something, it's that whole question of, are you a plotter or a pantser? Let's say I do
Hmm.
it. I'm a dancer. I dance back and forth. I'll do some outlining. If I hit a spot, I'll hit some outlining with some questions, ask the right questions to outline. and then I'll start pantsing. And if something
Mm.
really awesome occurs, I go, ooh, let's go back and thread that in because that makes a ton of sense for this character. And that's going to amplify the experience in this way. Oh, that's great. So I'd say, yes, I hear their voices. No, they don't talk to me.
That's a good way to frame it. Essentially you're like the producer setting everything up and
Yeah.
seeing it in that format, which is actually really interesting and I think is quite telling to your method of storytelling in
Hmm.
that sense. Um, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going. I was kind of going. Huh, yeah, I don't know. I'm still figuring all this out. It's like
Yeah.
you get to certain points and you go, I wonder if that will be what it's like when I do this again for book two, or you're still, it's just still discovery.
Yes, of course. Well, you're still growing as a person, right? And if you're pulling
Of course.
your experiences into the books or when you're writing, absolutely that's going to come through.
Yeah.
Um, so we talked a little bit about the book and some of the characters, but I do want to uh, go in a little bit more.
Okay.
So, with the title of the book being "The Price of Power," you've actually pulled through that theme in the book across four different POVs. So, what is the price or the cost of power? What was that like for you writing that theme into four different POVs and their respective situations, as spoiler free as we can?
Hmm. Okay. Well, it's funny. It wasn't the original title. The title's probably changed a lot.
Oh,
Um,
can we hear
and
the
I real
original title?
Sure. I was gonna do something like I was gonna do 3 or 4 books, and it was gonna be
Mm.
oh no, maybe it was Ascendance, Descent, like things. It was something like that. Like it was like
Okay.
up, down. It's kind of supposed to be metaphorically like the journey of going up in Taurus, right?
Mm,
But the price of power is what like kind of clicked. It's like, well, this is what it's fundamentally about. This is what
mm,
the through line in the story. I'm actually stunned that I was able to come up with that title simply for any other efforts I've made to narrow down or make like a pitch line or something for the entire series. It's like, nope, I got nothing. Um, but as far as weaving it through the four storylines, um, I mean, in a way, it's kind of like cheating because every story uh, has well, maybe not every story, but there should be some kind of a cost, right,
mm,
for doing things. And actually, sorry to all the Harry Potter fans out there, but a big piece of my magic slash spiritual system came from a dislike of the fact that Harry just has these powers. He's just the most powerful, just because he's just chosen. And I was like, that's kind of stupid. I was like, if you have magic powers and you're better than everybody, like you should have to go through hell to get those powers. And so I was like, oh, people have to go up in turns. Oh, what might happen? Oh, well, maybe they get torn apart by demons. Sweet, let's do it. That makes for an interesting dynamic.
mm.
And it limits the amount of people with powers, that's for sure. So I built around that a dislike of the fact that Harry just gets the powers that he gets and gets to be the chosen one. It's like, come on, you got to work for this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, uh, what was your question? Oh, the price of power. So there you go. The price
Mm,
of power, having power to that. But then it just applied so awesome to the fact that we have Barrowdane Ironlight and Ashoa Ironlight, and they have power in a different way, political
mm,
power, right? And it's like, oh, there's a cost to that too. If you're, not a complete sociopath who wants to be in politics, well, they don't even want to. They were just, see, it's the opposite. They were chosen and they're forced. Now they're experiencing that from the other end. Whereas some people want the power, right? They weren't chosen. They're trying to choose themselves by going up in Turris. And there's that price too, right? So you're coming at it
mm.
from both ends of the spectrum. Um, yeah, I can stop there or I can keep going. I have more to say about just in terms of like the overarching theme of the entire series, but
So long as it's spoiler free, by all means. You also have that, like you said, you have the political side of it, but you have the magical side too. The costs that come with both perspectives in four different characters. So yeah, if you want to keep going with that, you definitely can.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna note. I'm just gonna acknowledge at this point that I can now see what it might look like for me to be bald. It's not too bad. I mean, you see how like the hair is blending into the background. It's nice, isn't it? I'm like, there we go. Didn't even need it. Nature's filter. I have nature's filter. It's called a shadow over my
There, there you
head.
go.
The bald filter. Look at that.
Looks
Look
good.
at that. Someday soon. So this story is like, how did I weave all this together? I think you asked. It's like, well, I'm just trying to jam all the things I really like. I like the politics. I like the magic. I
Mm,
like spirituality. It's just me trying to fit it and connect it all together. All the things I like. We'll see if it ends up
mm.
working in the long run. But as far as the overarching theme of these books, it's extremism. It's extremism of beliefs, not
Mm,
just, as it's, excuse me, as it's represented in people like the Scarborn or Scothea
mm,
or um, just like the nationalism that Namorites have, right? It's the extremism of internal beliefs as well, right? It's like, I'm not worth anything, or I should suffer, or I'll always be alone if I don't do this thing, right?
mm,
Um, and it's like, knowing that to go so extreme and not walk more of like a gray or middle path can be very dangerous to losing who you are. Because if, we over identify with one group of people, or we over identify with one thing about ourselves, right,
mhm,
we lose ourselves. And so that's really what this entire series is going to be about, is the danger of extremist beliefs, internally and externally.
mm,
I'll even give a quick example. It's like, okay, if I think I'm the greatest writer of all time, I become unlikable, narcissistic. Uh, I start to create a gap between myself and people I care about, right?
mm,
I'm unapologetic for selfish things. Okay. If I think I'm the worst writer of all time, I'm harsh on myself. It's the same. It's actually the same things. You create
mm,
a gap between yourself and the people who care about you. Um,
mm,
you're maybe like less apologetic because you're like, I just have to take care of myself. I hate myself. Today I'm gonna like lie in bed. Whatever it may be internally, the extreme of either end is not healthy and is potentially dangerous for you as a person.
mhm.
And
That
obviously there's the like external as well. It's like, oh, am I with the Scarborn or am I with the Namorites? I don't know. Like, maybe we should try to make broker some peace or something.
yeah. No, that's well said. We also have a question here from Jordan. When
Oh,
I'm guessing you know Jordan.
oh yeah, Jordan's my friend.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, he actually. So, giving a shout out to Jordan here. I was working with my cover artist, but Jordan himself is an artist. He makes toys for a living. How cool is that?
Yeah.
He was like, I'm gonna make toys, and he went to college and he learned how to make toys, and now he he makes toys for a living. It's bananas. Um, but I would take what my artist would give me and I would be like, hey, Jordan, what do you think? And then he would literally go in and he could like change things. I'm like, wait, you changed this? Like he would, do things on the cover. And then I would send it to my artist and be like, can you make these changes? And
Mm,
he's a professional artist. So he knew exactly what to say and how to say it and stuff. It was, yeah. Oh, that guy a lot.
wow.
He also made my bookmarks for the Kickstarter.
Oh, those were good.
Yeah.
Well done, Jordan. Um, so their question here is when coming up with stories, do you focus on the character and build the world around them? Or do you form a world to fit the characters into? Or is it something else entirely?
Oh, something else. I put on a blindfold. Okay. I
Okay.
put pudding in both hands and I just
Fairy dust.
just throw it at the wall. I've written them all out the possibilities on a wall. No. So actually, This is kind of that same thing where it's like, are you a plotter or are you a pantser? I'm a dancer. Well, with this, it's really the same thing. I
Mm,
just let them kind of bounce off each other. The world enhancing the characters enhancing the world. So I've had many times where it's like, hmm, this character needs a cool background. Ooh, what if they're part of like the secret order of things and stuff? And it's like, ooh, oh, if I put that in here, then it can relate to this character, and it gives them a motivation for this. Sweet, that's in now, right? Or it's
mm,
like, oh, there's this, world order of some kind, like, this order of magic users. And oh, what if one of them was born in this way and they grew up like this and they're actually a spy? Yes, that's what I'm doing. So it's all about how they interact. Because if they don't interact, you're not really weaving a um, realistic or like tangible feeling world for the reader. At
mm.
least that's what I think.
You're missing a certain dynamic that's
Yeah,
fundamental to it.
the interplay.
Yeah. So, you talked a little bit about your Kickstarter,
Mhm.
and I want to know, this being your debut book, your first time publishing this, what was your Kickstarter experience like?
Well, it's not over yet in terms of like
Well,
fulfilling the orders, so I could
so
go bad.
what's it been like so far?
I mean, it's been pretty amazing looking at the fact that, I mean, in terms of overhead, I made roughly 10K off the Kickstarter. A good chunk of that is going to be going, almost half of that is going to either go to Kickstarter, it's going to go to like
Mm,
the fees, it's going to go to like, ordering books. I mean, that's like 3K right there to just order the books to send to people at least.
mhm,
So even so, right? Say that it was 5,000 for all the things I needed to do, hiring
mm,
an artist to do the cover for the short bonus short story and stuff. Um, 5K is roughly the advance for a debut author who traditionally publishes.
hmm,
So it is like, did I make the right choice in becoming an indie author? Um, yeah, I believe I did. I've maintained complete control of my IP. I've
mm,
managed to get my book into a lot of people's hands. I feel like I've given it a solid chance at life through marketing. And I've already made the amount of money that, actually, I guess in terms of net loss, in terms of like having to pay for the cover and stuff like that, maybe not quite, but I'm pretty close to what a debut author gets
mm,
for traditional publishing. And so that alone has been very validating. The other coolest part of the Kickstarter experience is the fact that random people who I don't even know are like so supportive. It's so cool. I got to be honest, I'll even take that a step further and just say discovering Bookstagram is so cool because it's like people still read. And not only do they read like 2 books a week, 5 books a week. That's wild. There's hope. This is
yeah.
hope in the world again. People are reading. Um,
Yes.
so there's just been it makes me think that people who read, this community should run the world or something. I don't know. Um,
I won't disagree.
yeah, it's just really cool to see people coming out and being supportive to an author they don't know. It's validating in terms of like credibility for me personally,
Mm,
and it's really heartwarming to know that people are reading this much and supporting each other like they are. So that's all of that together is combined for a really cool experience, and I'm really excited to do another one, um,
mm,
which I'll probably do one for every book or series because I've got multiple books coming. So, and just trying to find cool ways to make it even better, like it's like, what can I do next time that's going to be like really special?
mm.
So,
Well, I'm excited to find out. Now, I have a follow-up question. You might not be able to answer it. M Let's say you do the Kickstarter for book 2. Will you include the option for people who missed out on book 1 to purchase the previous book with that, new Kickstarter?
oh yeah. So there's
Just
definitely
asking for
going
a
to be,
friend.
yeah, yeah. There's definitely going to be layers to that in terms of like, you know, you can just get book 2, and you can get book 1 and 2. by that time, I may even release. I have this crazy plan, Kayla.
I'm
To
open to hearing it.
All right. When I finish book 2 of The Price of Power, so last time when I wrote book 1, I sent the second or third draft completed out to beta readers. While they read it, I wrote another book. Actually, invented a whole nother book series. I
Oh,
wrote a whole
wow.
nother book and finished that. And then I and it only took me about a month and a half, 2 months maybe.
Wow.
Then I rewrote that in about a month and a half later on, and it is nearly complete. The book 1 of the other series. I think I
Oh,
can write those extremely quickly. That book. It's one point of view currently.
okay.
Um, and I actually already have a chunk, like 15,000 words of book 2 written on that. And so I have this weird thing where I'm like, maybe I don't know if I want to do one Kickstarter or 2 separate ones, but eventually by the next one, there may be 3 books from 2 series. I don't know if that's
Wow.
advisable to split series for one Kickstarter, but so you may even be able to get 3 books, Kayla. Your friend, I mean.
Yeah, my friend.
It's probably not true.
That's actually quite impressive, that while you were working on one series, one book, you had something else going on in the background, you're just typing away like a machine. Um, so, I will let my friend know, thank you.
Okay, cool. Give my
Um,
regards.
and I'm actually really happy to hear that it's been so positive for you, that your entry as an author, your debut as an author has been, such a welcoming experience, which is just amazing to me, and it just reinforces the fact that the online book community is amazing.
App
So,
bowing down.
would you say that was the most surprising thing that, you found with your publishing journey so far? Or was it something
Uh,
else?
that was like the most refreshing for sure. I
Mm.
mean, I was absolutely surprised that my Kickstarter did around 10,000 on a first time Kickstarter. That's pretty crazy. Which thank you, Michael J. Sullivan. Without him, holy Lord. Um, he threw a pledge at me, and then because Michael J. Sullivan pledged, it alerted all of his people that follow him as a creator,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Not just people who follow his project, but follow him as a creator. That's how it has to work. And
Yeah.
so it was like boom, 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 like a $1,700 in one day. So
Wow.
um, if I ever meet him, he's gonna get a big hug if he wants one. um, as far as publishing, what's funny is this one guy mentioned like, "Oh, you're gonna self-publish. Oh, I know you know how hard that road is," and I was like, "Oh, is it?" I The way everybody makes it sound, they're like, all these podcasts and self-publishing formula and all
Mm.
these things. It's like you can write a book to yesterday, put it up tomorrow. It's like hell no. Every step forward is 2 steps back. Like it is.
Yeah.
Why is my light freaking out? It is so much more work than I expected. All the logistical pieces. You have to have like different templates for your cover and you have to contact your artist and get them to put a new template on for putting your cover on Amazon. And then you got to do it for Ingram Spark. And then you got to go get these, like the ISBNs and you got to like
Mhm.
sync them up perfectly. There's just a lot of really the
Mm.
tedium of publishing was the biggest surprise.
Okay. So, yeah, because you 'cause you're not a one-man show in the sense that you have an artist working with you and you have, in your acknowledgments, you have a long list of people that you thank, which is just heartwarming as well. But you're also doing marketing. You're doing all the back end work in addition to writing and making sure that it's ready. So, and you're coordinating between your editor and your artist. There's a lot going on in the background that people don't see.
Oh yeah.
So, let's change gears a little bit. So, outside of writing and publishing, what do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, well, um, that's a great question. Lately, I've been playing some Age of Sigmar,
Oh,
Warhammer. It's like the replacement for Warhammer Fantasy.
okay.
Um, that's fun. I play that with my friends and my brother. Um, I wish I played video games. They're so cool nowadays. They're so cool. but I cannot bring myself to play video games. It is such like it's like a time suck and an addiction. I just can't. I admire them. I fantasize about playing video games, but I don't. It's weird.
I
Um,
get that.
yeah, I exercise. I like to lift weights, but I also like playing all kinds of sports, like going for runs. I do
Mm.
yoga. I have a daughter, and I'm my partner. Actually, I got engaged yesterday.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
yeah, check this out. Hold on, where is it? It doesn't fit me, unfortunately, but
Oh, no.
she got me a. It's like, oh, the light's not going to let it happen. It's like the One Ring,
Oh my gosh.
in terms of the writing, and it glows in the dark.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so that's really cool. But got engaged yesterday, so now me and my partner have my almost 15-year-old and then her 5-year-old son, and so we hang out with them and watch TVs and TV shows, movies. I love nature. Don't get out enough. Um, let's see what else. Dancing. I love dancing.
Oh,
Big into
nice.
dancing. Yeah,
So,
like to go to Burning Man. That's a big one.
okay,
Pop-up art festival. Probably heard of it. It's the most crazy, awesome art you've ever seen. So cool.
neat. So, at your wedding then, there's gonna be a lot of dancing is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah. I think we're
Nice.
gonna we don't know what we're doing yet, but like I'm like, I just want a Burning Man themed wedding. I'm not like that big of a burner, but I'm becoming that way. I just love LED lights. Who doesn't?
Fair.
LED lights
Yeah.
are awesome. Can you imagine like a wedding with low lights? It's just LEDs everywhere. That'd be
Yeah.
sick.
Oh,
I don't know.
that would be a
Oh, are
lot
you
of
still
fun.
there? It's cutting out.
Yep, yep,
Oh, you're there. Okay.
yep, we're good. Technology.
Yeah. So, what will I be doing with my free time? It's just going to be writing, publishing, uh, exercise when I can, taking care of kids a lot, and probably planning a wedding.
I mean, that'll keep you busy for a while, that's for sure.
Yeah, a little too busy.
So we have a demand. I'm gonna call it a
Uh-oh.
demand. LED suit better
I'm not taking
happen.
my shirt off, Jordan. Hmm. Okay, got it. LED suit. Well, Jordan, I expect you to make. Oh, Jordan, you know what we could do? Jordan's a cool guy. He got in a little fender bender with his Subaru, and he took the hood of his car, and he like got it. He got a white hood, and
Mm.
then he took a Sharpie and drew all these like awesome drawings all over it, and then um, the car repair people put a polymer over it. So I'm like, what if I get a white suit and he draws or writes like all over it? That'd be kind of nifty.
That would be
He could do some
awesome.
cool stuff. So good job signing up for that, Jordan.
Yeah. That's what friends are for.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so, let's talk about, um, some books that you would recommend for all of us to read.
Oh,
What are some books you would toss onto our TBR piles?
I would love to do that. I usually like to get um I like to know what people. I used to work at Blockbuster, believe it or not.
Okay.
Um, and I would just ask people, I'd say, just tell me 2 or 3 of your favorite movies. And then I would just like combine the vibe and like the things that happen and like suggest a movie out of that. It's kind of the same with books. So I would love to be able to do that. Anybody who wants to reach out to me on Instagram for a recommendation, if you're interested, totally down to try to find the right book for you because I think it's so fun. I would suggest A Canticle for Leibowitz is my number one book. It is, I've read many, many sci-fi and fantasy books. It's one of the only books I'd call a masterpiece, like
Oh,
transcending
interesting.
of the genre, that people would. I actually know that they teach it in college and some places you read it in college, but it's one of those books. It's like looking at the Mona Lisa. It's like, she's playing. I don't get it. Why is this like so famous? I'm sure I've never
Mm,
seen it, but I'm sure people see it and they go, what's happening? There's something happening here. I just can't tell what it is. Oh, it's
mm.
beautiful. It's a masterpiece. I feel that way about A Canticle for Leibowitz. You read it, there's not crazy, interesting ways of, sentence structure. The characters aren't Some of them are intriguing. The plot is disjointed, but you finish that last page and you go, whoa, there's
Mm.
something about this book for sure. Um, Masterpieces, speaking of Masterpieces is an anthology edited by Orson Scott Card. It's got the biggest names. It's got George R. R. Martin,
Mm.
Ursula K. Le Guin, Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, William Gibson, all the biggest names. So I read that incredible book. It's incredible book of short stories. And then I went on to read The Story of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang.
Mm.
If you haven't read Ted Chiang, he's just better than everybody. He's just better than everyone.
That sh-
That's it.
that should be the headline on the book.
Actually, his last book, Barack Obama endorsed it. It's a sci-fi book. It
Oh,
was a
neat.
different set of short stories. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but it did have this incredible story about a parrot. 5 pages, so deep, so good. Um, Ted Chiang, when I read him, he had more major awards than short stories. He had 11 short stories and 13 of the biggest awards you can get.
Wow.
He tends to just win everything when he makes a short story. Yep, Exhalation,
I'll put
Anita, is
there.
the second book. The Story of Your Life and Others is the first one. The first one is my favorite. The Story of Your Life is the best short story I've ever read. It got
Mm.
turned into one of my favorite movies, Arrival. If you've ever heard of Arrival, it's one with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner.
Okay.
It's an amazing movie. It does things. No, it didn't hit wide popularity
Mm.
because it's not violent or action packed. It's
Yep.
not got a ton of like drama and overacting. It's not got a ton of romance. It does
Mm.
none of the things that a Hollywood movie like needs, right?
Yeah.
It is purely an objective viewer experience, in my opinion. Um, it's amazing. So, anyways, sorry, that's like a movie aside. Roger's getting antsy.
No,
Roger, sell for
Roger.
any of faves. Good question. Price of Power is one.
There you go.
Um, that's one. I liked The Shadow of What Was Lost quite a bit.
Mm.
Um, I'm looking forward to reading Key and Ardalin's 11th Cycle. He and I
Mhm.
just sent each other our books, and so I'm intrigued. It sounds rough and very dark. Um, but yeah, I'm still looking forward to it. I've read some pretty dark stuff before. I tend to like more grimdark. Oh,
Mm.
Richard K. Morgan. He wrote the series Altered Carbon, which I haven't read, but I have read. This book left a really great impression on me in terms of um, just the writing was exquisite. It's called The
Mm.
Steel Remains. It's the
Okay.
first book of a trilogy. I have the other one. I haven't got to it quite yet, but The Steel Remains by Richard K. Morgan, and then of course Red Rising is an amazing series.
Oh, yes. Tori, from Tori Talks would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to open up the floor. If anyone watching would like to throw in some questions for Michael, definitely leave those in the chat. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the leg to catch up, what's one thing that you hope readers take away from your book? I know it's
Mm,
a simple question while we're waiting.
simple. That's the one I tried to. I like saw the questions beforehand. And that's the only one I was like, I really don't know
Mm. Do you want them to
uh,
just have a good time?
how to answer that. Um, I guess at this point, it would what I would like them to kind of walk away saying
Mm.
is this is more for the community than anything, but walk away saying like, oh, indie really can be on the same level as traditional.
Mm.
Like, oh, this can be a thing, right? So I'd love to be able to get people who haven't read indie before reading the book to try to
Mm.
just gain some traction there and continue to improve and increase the amount of clout that indie
Mm.
pub gains. Um,
Break down that wall a little bit.
yeah, break it down a little bit. I would say just on a personal level, I would love them to also just understand themselves or humanity better in some way.
Mm,
Like, I hope I've done justice to the characters enough that through being in their heads, they get to kind of have a proxy discovery for themselves about their maybe what's important to them or what their beliefs, maybe questioning some of their beliefs they've had about themselves because they identify with something the character is going through. Um,
mm.
but yeah, understand themselves or people in general a little better.
I like it. So we don't have any questions coming in at the moment. So I'll just say, where can everyone find you, find your book? Where's the best place that readers and others can connect with you?
My address is no, don't
No.
find me there. Just kidding. Except for you,
Taboo,
Jordan. You
taboo.
can come over anytime. The Instagram is a really great place. It's just like my name is here on the StreamYard thing caption, Michael Michel author on Instagram. That's kind of the hub at the moment. I definitely have a measly following on Twitter. If you love Twitter, you can go follow me on Twitter. I don't even know what my Twitter handle is, to be honest with you, but I think Kayla will have it in her.
I
Um,
I will try and track it
Stuff.
down because I don't think I do.
I'll send it to you. We'll see if we can make this
Okay.
happen. And then The Price of Power is on Amazon.
Awesome. And
It's in
congratulations
hard.
again.
Thank you. There's a hardback, a paperback, and
Ooh.
the ebook. Although,
So for
yeah,
personal reasons, the hardback, is it with dust jacket or does it have the naked hardcover with the artwork on it? I'm just curious for personal
Nate,
reasons.
it's called case laminate, and it is case laminate, no dust
Okay.
jacket.
Okay.
Um, I've always hated dust jackets. I just, you like open the book and then all of a sudden it's flipped out like an accordion in your hands, and you're like, "What the hell? What's going on here?" So I'm not a fan. I
Mm,
also haven't really seen many case laminates though either. So I was kind of excited by
mm.
that case
Okay.
laminates. So case laminate.
Okay.
Are you
And
disappointed, Kayla?
no, actually, I'm not. I don't always like dust jackets as well. I'm curious because I love the artwork just on the hardcover itself. For me, I'm always disappointed when I get the hardcover. I take the dust jacket off and it's just like a plain binding with nothing on it.
On
Um,
cloth, you want to scratch a little bit. You like scratch it. It's like, it makes
yeah,
that
and
noise.
you open it up thinking, oh, there's going to be a surprise under here, and then it's just disappointment. So I am personally happy about that.
Surprise! It's disappointment.
And Roger has a final question before we sign off. Is Michael Michel your actual name or is it a pen name? He's not being nosy at all.
I almost had a pen name, but no, this is my actual name.
Okay.
Um, and actually, fun story. My name was not Michael at birth.
Hmm.
Um, so my name was Alex when I was born, and
Okay.
then my dad left the hospital. His name is also Mike, and he didn't want to have a junior, so I was like, no, I can't name him Michael. Michael's my name. My
Hmm.
mom is Italian though, and so when he left the hospital to take care of my older brothers back home, she just changed it on the birth certificate to Michael. My
Your mom just snuck
mom
that in
rolls.
there.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't have a sneaker. She probably would have just told him, but she gets what she wants, I guess.
So, well, it makes for a nice story. That's for sure.
Kind of fun. Kind of a fun one. Hopefully, she sees
Awesome.
this.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because on that note, we are going to sign off. Thank you all for joining in the live chat, asking your questions. Michael, thank you for being here, talking about your book. Congratulations again. And
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing more people pick up this book because I need to talk to more people about this book if that's not a hint enough.
Oh,
with, with that being said, have a great night and take care of yourselves, everyone.
bye, everybody. Thank you.